Now, the man who attacked those two pro-life protesters in 2023 outside of Baltimore Planned Parenthood will not be facing prison time. One of the victim's attorneys, again, tells Fox 45 News it was a slap on the wrist.
One of the pillars of our constitutional republic is this idea that we are under the rule of law, not the rule of men. And in fact, we have certain symbols in our nation that are supposed to actually demonstrate this. First and foremost, and one of the most obvious, is Lady Justice. Now, Lady Justice isn't depicted wearing a blindfold for no reason. This is based on the idea that you should be judged based on the circumstances of your case, and justice should be blind. If you commit the crime, you do the time, or some such thing. And by the way, if you happen to have been a pro-life supporter during the course of the Biden administration, you felt the harsh hand of justice. If you were singing prayers in front of an abortion clinic, guess what? You would not only be charged with trespassing, which is normal, you would be charged under the FACE Act, a federal law, because supposedly you were violating the constitutional rights of people, even if we could see on the video that what the government was claiming was patently false. In fact, if you got into a dispute where somebody confronted your 12-year-old child and you happened to be a pro-life supporter and you decided to get that person away from said child, you would be raided by the federal government, your home would be busted into, and they would prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And again, on its own, even though those cases seem absolutely ridiculous and one of them seems like a blatant violation of the First Amendment, part of our justice system is that we work things out in the courts, and as long as we have some kind of even-handedness, it can maintain legitimacy. However, this case out of Baltimore that we're going to talk about today is the exact opposite of that. In this particular case, despite the fact that prosecutors pursued a 10-year sentence against a man who decided to physically assault two pro-life demonstrators, both of whom were elderly, and included in said assault was him knocking one of them to the ground and kicking him square in the face, causing permanent damage, the judge decided to forego any kind of jail time or consequences and give this individual, Patrick Brice, 1 year home confinement and 3 years of probation. So essentially, no jail time for savagely attacking pro-life demonstrators, and obviously this is meant to send a message. When Democrats are in charge, if you're on the wrong side of the abortion issue, you will not only be shouted down and attacked in the streets, but if you dareth cross a line that the Democrats have deemed the line of protest, then you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But if you're out there protesting, you're not violating anything, and the feds can't figure out a way to prosecute you, and some random person comes up off the streets and physically attacks you, guess what? Slap on a wrist for that individual. We got a woke judge who's gonna say innocent Beba Angel Aladdin, and it's gonna be no big deal because honestly, you shouldn't have held those positions in the first place. And this is what we're gonna talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
The attacker who shoved, kicked, and pushed those two gentlemen, those two older gentlemen that were the protesters, he was in court for his sentencing this week, and the judge sentenced that man to 1 year of home detention and 3 years of probation. Now, the attorney for one of those victims, he tells me this sentencing, it wasn't the right decision, the outcome of it, but he says he knew no prison time was a possibility.
The sentence does not fit the crime.
Attorney Terrell Roberts and his client Mark Crosby were in court when Patrick Brice was sentenced on Thursday.
Did you expect that no jail time was in the realm of possibilities for this sentencing?
Yes, from this particular judge, I did expect that.
So first of all, it is very telling that the attorney for the people who are actually attacked in this particular situation says that he knew going into this particular case, based on the judge who was overseeing it, that no jail time was definitely 100% a possibility. And I want to make something clear to everybody out there in the audience. This is not a woke prosecutor situation, because the Baltimore State's Attorney's Office, which is currently being run by Ivan Bates, actually put pushed for a 10-year sentence due to the violent and savage nature of this assault. This is 100% on the judge, who decided, you know what, I don't really care if you knock an elderly person to the ground on video and then kick him square in the face after attacking another elderly person. I'm gonna give that a free pass, because honestly, what were these elderly white people thinking when they decided to be pro-life activists? Honestly, these people kind of deserve to be kicked in the face. Punch a Nazi, after all. And if you held any belief that is to the right of these black activist judges, you're an evil white racist, you're a Nazi, and you deserve the pain. And to be clear, Patrick Brice is a white individual. This is not a case that involves black crime or anything of the sort. It involves attacking a pro-life person, a Republican person, or somebody who's at least conservative leaning, and a woke judge deciding, no big deal, nothing to worry about. And by the way, the judge is a woman called Yvette Michelle Bryant, and you could take a look at her right here, and honestly, based on her record, we should not be surprised by this soft sentence for somebody that she agrees with politically.
Brice left Crosby with a bloody face, bruises across his body, and permanent damage to his right eye. Crosby was 73 when the attack happened on May 26, 2023. The other victim, Richard Schaefer, was 84.
So right here we see the extent of the injuries against this 70-plus-year-old man who happens to be a pro-life demonstrator. And of course, we hear the other victim in this particular case happened to be 84 years old. Apparently, it is perfectly fine for a young man to attack elderly people as long as, of course, they hold the wrong positions politically. But I think it's important for all of us to examine at least some of the video, what I can show you on YouTube, so you can understand exactly how ridiculous this case is, and clearly and obviously how this person is a serious ongoing threat to society, despite the fact that he said he just got so angry he lost control of himself, and for some reason the judge deciding that that was a-okay and nothing to worry about, even though again, he's going to be confronted at some point in his life with somebody who has differing political views from him. So the idea that you could just let this one go on the off chance he lives in his leftist bubble for the rest of his life is insane in every possible way.
It's all caught on surveillance video. It started as a conversation that quickly escalated to assault. Brice charged at Schaefer and both fell over a flower pot.
So look, as you saw right there from the footage that I was able to show you before I freeze framed it, our suspect in this particular case was in an argument with these pro-life demonstrators. He was really mad that these people were not in support of abortion, and then he decided to charge this elderly man, again on video, in a clearly and obviously unprovoked physical attack, and then the local news media describes them as falling over a flower pot. Let me make this 100% clear to you guys. They did not fall over. He knocked him over the flower pot. He tackled him into the flower pot, and obviously this is a completely 100% inexcusable assault. And by the way, the local news media, for some ungodly stupid reason, is blurring the face of the victims in this particular case while they're interviewing the victims. It makes no sense at all. It's ridiculous and absurd, but this is the savage attack that he initiated against this elderly man that he only received 1 year of home confinement for. 1 year for this, and we see FBI raids and lengthy sentences against elderly people who sang church hymns near an abortion center under the Biden administration. And I understand that that was a federal case, and this happens to be in Baltimore City. I understand that the prosecutor's office in this particular case actually pursued a 10-year sentence, but it just goes to show you that the left has no standards for judges or anybody in positions of authority other than, do you align with us politically? Because this is not the first time we've seen somebody who does violence for leftist reasons get a break. Again, January 6 people were hunted down across the country, even if they just did trespassing. By contrast, Black Lives Matter rioters got multi-million-dollar settlements from cities that they were destroying, despite the fact that their damage was infinitely more than what was done on January 6th. In addition to that, we also have a bunch of different attacks on Tesla vehicles that were also given the no jail time treatment because, you know, if you attack something for leftist reasons, that is considered perfectly fine 100% acceptable and nothing to worry about. But this video actually gets significantly worse.
In another clip, Crosby runs towards Brice, but is quickly knocked on the ground. Brice was found guilty on 2 counts of second-degree assault and reckless endangerment. Prosecutors called for a 10-year sentence.
So after the first elderly man is knocked over a flower pot, again, because he held the wrong political beliefs by Patrick Brice, this absolute scumbag, another elderly man who saw what happened, who was on the opposite corner, ends up trying to confront this individual who, again, is violently attacking people that he disagrees with. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, there are other pro-lifers over there. So even though these men are elderly, even though these men are grandfathers, they decided that they have to stop this madman. So this particular individual ends up coming up to the attacker, and he ends up losing because, again, there's an overwhelming age disadvantage. And what you could see in the video that I had to freeze frame for you guys due to the terms of service, due to the violent nature, is that this elderly man gets knocked down on the ground, which, by the way, should be the end of the fight. It should be over. He is in his 70s and the other guy's in his 80s. But instead of ending it right there, our attacker, Patrick Brice, gets on top of him and then punches him in the face, knocking him out what appears to be dead cold right there. But then it's still not over. Patrick Brice decides that he needs to do even more damage to these elderly people who dareth care about the lives of the unborn. So he rears back full strength and kicks him square in the face. Again, this video will be linked in the description. You could check it out for yourself. And you guys know what my standard is. Every time we see one of these black crime videos where a black person ends up kicking somebody when they're already down in the face, the charge in that case should be attempted murder. Now, of course, Patrick Brice is a white guy, so maybe I have a different standard for him, but absolutely not. No way. This guy should also face those serious criminal charges. He should also be sent to prison for these actions, and I don't give a damn if he was upset by the fact that people were protesting a policy that he agrees with.
I think it sends a bad message that if you come to someone's aid, the law is not going to protect you. If you see someone being attacked and you come to their aid, you may not get the protection of the law.
So the attorney for the injured parties in this particular case says that this sets a terrible precedent because what ultimately ended up happening was the judge looked at this case and was like, oh, well, you attacked him with alternate political beliefs, and those political beliefs are kind of like violence, which is something that the left believes. So he was kind of warranted in taking you down, in spearing you into a plant, and in stomping the other guy out because, you know, it's just what we have to do in order to fight against your violent political beliefs. Then we get the victim impact statement, which I want to play a little bit for you guys right here.
Crosby wrote a 3-page victim impact statement. He told the court Brice's mayhem was inflicted in broad daylight in the middle of the city. He then coolly left the scene while Dick and I lay prostrate on the ground. It was callous because he left 2 human beings on the ground without giving aid or calling for help. I was left for dead.
And yeah, this is 100% true. This guy in broad daylight walked up to 2 elderly people that he disagreed with politically, attacked them savagely. He did a sneak attack on one elderly individual, tackling him into a potted plant. And then the other elderly guy, after he knocked him down, he punched him square in the face when he was already on his back, and then reared back full steam and kicked him in the face, and then casually walked away. Like, mission accomplished right here. And we're gonna pretend that this is acceptable behavior. We're gonna say, oh, well, as long as he maintains his leftist bubble where nobody disagrees with him, where nobody dareth speaketh a pro-life position, then it's gonna be perfectly fine. No big deal. He won't attack anyone, so he's not really a threat to society because there aren't really people who disagree with him politically anywhere in the world.
Robert says he is unsure if this statement made any difference to the judge.
I think it was a good statement. Whether it had any effect is hard to tell. The judge did not make any comments about the crime. She just proceeded to sentencing without any comment, which is very unusual.
Yeah, it's unusual, but not surprising, because guess what? The judge didn't care about the crime. She didn't care about the victims. She kind of thought it might have been good if these two guys would have died, because again, these people are anti-abortion, and abortion is one of the most sacred rights on the left, and it's so sacred that you should be able to kill elderly people who disagree with you, according to this judge. Again, absolute scum through and through, but what do you expect from the left, who has no standards but double standards?
Also, as part of the sentencing, Brice must also go to anger management classes. He must continue therapy, and he also needs to complete drug and alcohol screenings.
Yeah, the guy has to go to anger management, and he has to seek counseling. Oh, wow. What a harsh sentence. What a just result for this particular case. Again, the Biden administration was prosecuting trespassers who were protesting abortion clinics, not even obstructing the way of people trying to go to said clinics, under a federal law that said that they were denying constitutional rights to the people who theoretically wanted to pursue abortions. And again, the feds were raiding them and all these absurdities, but in this particular case, guess what? No big deal. No jail time. Just go to home confinement, go to therapy, have a good time, and honestly, you really need to remake the world so nobody could dare disagree with this individual, because you don't have a right to disagree with Patrick Brice, but he has every right to kick you in the face, knock you down, attack you if you're elderly, because he has the proper progressive position. Now, of course, this is where I'm going to leave this for you guys. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute absurdity of no jail time from this judge. Till next time.